And did you note the video that the lighting conditions appeared to change?
Yes.
Do you know what that was a result of?
The tree growth and coverage at different points on the path.
Is there a feature, do you know if there was a feature used on the camera to enhance the lighting?
At certain points, you went to a black and white function, depending upon the lighting in that particular area, to maybe highlight a certain aspect of it.
Okay. At some point, did you wind up leaving the Stony Brook Reservation in the evening hours of July 23rd of 2013?
Yes.
And did you go somewhere, did you leave at someone's direction?
Yes, Sergeant Detective McLaughlin requested Detective Cecil and I respond to Area C6.
Okay, that was in South Boston?
Yes, it was.
Did Sergeant McLaughlin go with you?
He did not, no.
Where did he go?
He remained on scene.
Okay. About what time did you get to District 6 in South Boston?
It was around 7 p.m. that evening.
Okay, and how much time did you spend there?
Approximately an hour.
And that was for purposes of what, sir?
To obtain whatever information had been obtained from the investigating detectives from Area C6 relative to the arson of the motor vehicle, the missing persons report, and an earlier attack that had occurred in the area of Old Colony Ave.
Okay. And that earlier incident, did that involve a woman by the name of Alexandra Cruz?
Yes, it did.
In the early morning hours of July 23rd?
Yes.
Did you wind up going somewhere that evening as part of this investigation? Did you wind up leaving and going somewhere from District 6 in South Boston?
Yes.
Where did you wind up going?
Myself and Detective Jeffrey Cecil responded to 124A Dorchester Street.
Okay. And did you learn who lived there or whose apartment that was?
That had been the apartment of Amy Lord, yes.
And just jumping forward for a minute, on July 25th, 2013, did you have occasion to be present at the office of the Chief Medical Examiner?
Yes, I had.
And for what purpose was that? Why were you there that day?
For the autopsy of Amy Lord.
And sometime on July 25th, was the identity confirmed?
Yes.
Now, at 124A Dorchester Street that evening, July 23rd of 2013, who did you wind up meeting there?
Myself and the Detective Jeffrey Cecil met with Dennis and Cindy Lord.
Okay. And were they inside the apartment?
Yes, they were.
Did you wind up meeting them shortly after you arrived?
Yes.
Did you and Detective Cecil introduce yourself?
I had initially introduced ourselves just as detectives with the Boston Police Department and asked that we could speak with them in private.
And where did that conversation take place?
Yes.
And where inside the apartment did that conversation take place?
We were in the bedroom of Amy Lord.
And in that particular time frame, who was present? Who were the people present in there?
At that point, it was myself, Detective Jeffrey Cecil, Dennis Lord, and Cindy Lord.
Was there anywhere for them or any of you to sit down?
They were sitting on the foot of the bed.
Did you remain standing?
I did, yes.
When you were in the bedroom, did you explain to them the particular unit you yourself and Detective Cecil were assigned to?
I did, yes.
At what point was that?
As soon as we entered the bedroom and we had the privacy, I then again identified ourselves as being detectives from the homicide unit.
And did you share some news with them at that particular point in time?
Yes.
Who did that concern?
The body that we had located in the Stony Brook Reservation, which at that point we believed to be the body of Amy Lord.
And I may have misspoke. When I said the following day, when you were at the office of the Chief Medical Examiner, the following day, would that have been July 24th of 2013? I think I may have said July 25th.
You did ask if I was there July 25th. There were actually 2 days. The autopsy took place over 2 days. July 24th, I was not present at that portion, being I had other investigative responsibilities throughout that day, and then there was a continuation on July 25th and the conclusion, and I was present for that portion.
And was it at that point that you were aware of the confirmation?
Yes.
Preliminarily, pending that confirmation on July 25th, did you share some news with the Lords?
I did, yes.
And what was the nature of that news?
I had advised them that we had discovered a female body that was deceased and had sustained some degree of trauma and that it was our belief at that point that it was in fact Amy Lord, but that we could not positively identify her due to lack of any license or positive identification to state that it was in fact Amy Lord. But it was our strong belief that it was.
And how much time did you spend with Cindy and Dennis Lord inside the bedroom at 124A Dorchester Street?
I was there all total about 40 minutes or an hour. After speaking with Dennis and Cindy, they had asked that we speak with their daughters.
Okay. And did that conversation take place?
Yes.
At some point you wound up leaving 124 Dorchester Street?
Yes, I did.
Okay. You left for a period of time. Where did you go from there?
From there, myself and Detective Cecil responded to Boston Police Headquarters and the Special Investigations Unit.
Okay. And was that regarding the homicide investigation?
Yes, it was.
Did it encompass, that meeting at Special Investigations, did it encompass any other part of the investigation, whether it was the missing person, the arson of the motor vehicle, or the earlier incident involving Alexandra Cruz?
The meeting there was relative to any investigative steps and information that members of that unit had obtained in assisting Area C6 detectives during the course of their 3 separate investigations.
Later on that evening, did you have a reason to wind up going back to 124A Dorchester Street?
Yes.
Did you meet someone from your squad 6 there?
Yes, around midnight on July 24th, myself and Detective Cecil responded back to 124A Dorchester Street and met with Sergeant Detective Paul McLaughlin.
Okay. Was it prior to midnight?
It may have been just a little prior to, yes.
Okay. Were the Lords still present?
They were not, no.
Were any family or friends still present at that particular time?
No.
Could you tell the jury what was taking place at 124 Dorchester Street when you arrived there later that evening, still on July 23rd, sir?
At that point, based on some information that had been obtained during the course of the investigation, we had members of the Latent Prints Unit and the Crime Scene Response Unit respond to that location for processing of the exterior and interior of the front door of 124A Dorchester Street, as well as the vestibule.
Detective Sheehan, I just want to show you what's been marked exhibit number 14 in this case and ask you if you recognize what's depicted here.
Yes.
And what do you see on exhibit number 14, sir?
Going from the left to right, the left is the exterior door of 124A Dorchester Street, as well as the address number located to the left of that door. The middle 2 photographs are photographs looking into the vestibule, both going inward from the street and then down the steps towards the front door. And the photograph to the right is the interior of the front door of 124A Dorchester Street.
And you were there on at least 2 occasions on July 23rd of 2013.
Yes.
Did you have ample opportunity to make observations of the exterior door that you described in the far left photograph on exhibit 14?
Yes, I did.
And directing your attention to the far left photograph, can you just describe the door generally, sir?
It was a black-colored door with several glass panels at the midpoint of the door and a gold kick plate across the base of the door.
Okay. And when you talk about a gold kick plate, the kick plate, or what you describe as a kick plate, is that the bottom portion of the door that I'm pointing to that's a gold color right here?
Yes, it is.
And the measurement indicates it's about 6 inches thick?
Yes.
And does it run the whole width of the door?
It does, yes.
Immediately to the left, just directing your attention again, still exhibit 14, to the portion immediately to the left of the door frame. What was located there at 124 Dorchester Street?
There was a parking lot adjacent to 124A Dorchester Street.
And was there a low brick wall in front of the parking lot?
It was a low brick wall with a short wrought iron fence on the top.
you said earlier that Detective Keaveney was on vacation,
Yes,
so at least as far as the three members of your squad who were working that evening, all three of you, were all three of you there at that time?
yes.
Who else was present at 124 Dorchester Street later that evening, as far as Boston police personnel? Were there any other detectives there?
Yes, Detective Stephen Morgan and Detective Robert Flynn of Area C6 were present.
And they're assigned to District 6. They're not homicide detectives, correct?
Correct.
At some point, did Detectives Morgan and Flynn have to leave 124 Dorchester Street?
They did.
And what was that in regards to?
A stabbing that had occurred at 57 Gates Street.
And what time did that call come in?
I believe the call came in at 12:11 a.m. on July 24th.
Okay, and you were present at 124 Dorchester Street when that call came in?
Yes, I was.
One moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
I want to show you what's been marked exhibit number 8, and I'll put it up on the easel. Detective Sheen, can you see that okay?
Yes.
And what do you recognize on that board?
It's the area South Boston, to include Dorchester Heights, Castle Island, Pleasure Bay, Dorchester Street, West Broadway, and East Broadway.
And there are certain streets labeled on this particular exhibit, Exhibit 8, that run off of Dorchester Street.
Yes.
Do you see 124 Dorchester Street on the exhibit?
Yes.
And if I were to point right there, do you recognize that building?
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
124 Dorchester Street.
And do you see Gate Street labeled on this exhibit as well?
Yes.
And where do you see that, sir?
It's moving from left to right, right about there.
Okay. And if one were walking down Dorchester Street and took a left onto Gates, you didn't wind up responding yourself to 57 Gates when that call came in, correct?
No, when the call came in, no.
Okay. Sometime after midnight now, in the early morning hours of July 24th, 2013, did you wind up going to 57 Gate Street?
Yes.
And about what time was it that you went there, sir?
It's about 4 a.m., 4:15 a.m.
And if one were to walk up Gate Street, what would be the first intersecting street you'd cross to
Tel-
get to 57 Gates?
Telegraph Street.
And where would 57 Gates be located?
It would be about 2/3 of the way down between Telegraph Street and East 8th Street on the right-hand side.
After Detectives Morgan and Flynn left 124 Dorchester Street to go to Gate Street, you remained at the 124 Dorchester Street location?
At that time, yes.
Okay. When you say at that time, how long did you stay there for?
Until about another 45 minutes, till about 1 a.m.
Okay. And where did you go at about 1 a.m.?
to Tufts New England Medical Center.
Who did you go there with?
Detective Jeffrey Cecil.
Okay. And at whose request did you go?
Sergeant Detective Paul McLaughlin.
And why did you wind up going to Tufts Medical Center?
A individual had walked into Tufts New England Medical Center with an injury to his hand, and that individual, per EMS who had responded, was consistent with the description provided related to the stabbing at 57 Gate Street.
At some point while you were at the Dorchester Street location, let me ask you this first. Did you have a police radio with you?
I did, yes.
And the police radio you had with you, is it capable of receiving transmissions, police transmissions that are broadcast throughout the city?
Yes.
Okay. Did you yourself hear any broadcast transmissions relative to the incident at 57 Gate Street?
Intermittently I had, yes.
And the broadcast transmissions that you heard intermittently, did any of those include any type of physical description regarding a possible suspect at the 57 Gate Street incident.
Yes.
How long did it take you to get to Tufts Medical Center, sir?
5 minutes?
Did yourself and Detective Cecil go together?
Yes, we did.
And where did you wind up going when you got to Tufts Medical Center?
We entered in through the ambulance entrance into the emergency room area.
Okay. And that ambulance entrance is on Nassau Street?
Yes, it is.
And once you go through that entrance, where does it take you, sir?
We went through a security area first and then into the emergency room.
While you were there, did you see either Detectives Flynn, just yes or no, either Detectives Flynn or Morgan?
Yes.
Where were they, if you can recall?
Present in the same emergency room area.
Okay. Do you know an individual who works for the Boston Police Department? He's a sergeant by the name of Ronald Perillo.
Yes, I do.
Did you see him there that evening?
I did, yes.
And where was he in relation to Detectives Morgan and Flynn?
He was on the opposite side of the emergency room.
Okay. Was there anyone there in the emergency room, a victim who had been transported from 57 Gate Street?
Yes.
Male or female?
Female.
Did you, just yes or no, did you have any contact with that woman that morning?
No.
Okay. At any point while you were at the hospital?
No.
Did you have any contact with anyone at the hospital that evening?
I did.
The person that you had contact with, do you see that person in the courtroom today?
I do, yes.
And could you please just point him out and describe what he's wearing?
He's seated at the defense.
Yes.
Okay. And did you learn, the person you had contact with, did you learn that person's name?
I did, yes.
And what was his name?
Edwin Alemany.
Early morning when you learned his name, did you learn where he lived?
Yes.
And where was that?
331 East 8th Street, apartment 719.
Okay. And where was that in relation to 57 Gate Street?
117 yards away.
And you say that with a certain level of precision, Detective Sheehan. At some point, did you wind up measuring the distance between 57 Gates and 331 East 8th Street?
I did, yes.
Well, let me ask you just a couple of follow-up questions on that. This exhibit number 8, I want to direct your attention to the right-hand section in this general area right here. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
And this area that I'm pointing to, what's located right here?
The Mary Ellen McCormick Housing Development.
We're talking East 8th, we're talking in the area of East 8th Street, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry. That would be the Old Harbor Housing Development.
Excuse me, the old,
Harbor?
thank you.
Old Harbor, Old Colony.
Old Colony. I apologize.
You're familiar with the Mary McCormick Housing Development?
I am, yes.
Where's that located?
Just to the right, in the top right-hand corner of that,
In
the
this
map.
general area?
Yes.
Earlier, before you went back to 124 Dorchester Street, the second time, did you have occasion to drive through the Mary McCormick Housing Development?
On the evening of the 23rd?
Going into the 24th, yes.
Yes, I did.
And for what purpose was that?
To canvass the area as well as to locate the specific location that the motor vehicle had been burned earlier in the morning hours.
And what did you learn that location to be?
Sterling Square and Logan Way.
Now, getting back to this particular area, the Old Colony development, are you familiar with East 8th Street?
Yes.
And as far as the address that you had just mentioned a moment ago, 331 East 8th Street, are you familiar with a location on Dorchester Street called Bell's Market?
Yes.
Is it depicted on this particular exhibit number 8?
It would be, yes.
And where would it be?
It would be.
Just with the question, Commissioner, with this stuff down your honor.
Yes.
Bell's Market would be located in this row of stores right here. Old Colony.
And could you just circle the Bell's Market, if you'd be kind enough, sir? And how far away is the Bell's Market from 331 East 8th Street?
I believe it was 500 yards.
And as far as another location on Dorchester Street, at some point during the investigation, did you become aware of the Casper Funeral Home?
Yes.
Where was that located?
That's located, the Catholic Funeral Home is located right here, adjacent to the cemetery.
Okay, could you just circle that and initial it as well?
Yes.
You can resume the stand. Going back to your time at the Tufts Medical Center now, was it into the early morning hours of July 24th, 2013?
Yes.
You said you had, you saw the defendant there, Mr. Alemany.
Yes, I did.
Did you see how he was dressed?
I did, yes.
And how was he dressed?
He was wearing a black tank top, blue jeans, black high-top sneakers, and also on his property was a blue blue Red Sox baseball cap.
Was he wearing the hat at the time you saw him?
He was not, no.
Did you happen to notice if he had any injuries at all?
He did.
And where was the injury located?
He had an injury sustained to his left hand along the thumb area.
Do you know, just yes or no, do you know if at the time that you saw him at Tufts Medical Center, do you know if he had been treated for that injury?
He was being treated at that time, yes.
And was that in one of the patient rooms in the emergency ward?
Yes.
At some point after you saw him there on that particular date, did you have the opportunity to review certain video from Tufts Medical Center?
Yes, I did.
And what portions of the building were captured on the video that you had the opportunity to review?
The main entrance located on Washington Street, the exterior of that entrance, as well as the main waiting area.
And the exterior, did that capture the area of Washington Street?
Yes, it did.
And if you know today, was there a certain time frame that you were looking at relative to that video, inside and out of the Tufts Medical Center?
Yes.
What time was that?
It was around 12:29 a.m.
And just yes or no, with respect to the inside and outside video, did you see an individual on the video consistent with the description you gave of Mr. Alemany on that video?
Yes.
And in particular, on that video, could you make observations of the left-hand area of the person you saw both inside and outside the hospital?
Yes.
And what was the condition of the left hand?
The left hand was wrapped with some item of clothing, it appeared.
And the person that you described as being on the video consistent with Mr. Alemany, did you see how that person arrived at the hospital?
Yes.
How was that?
A taxi cab.
Okay. I'm just going to reference exhibit number 1 on the monitor, Detective Sheehan, and ask you to focus your attention on the monitor. directing your attention to this time frame, 29:01:12. Do you see a vehicle right here?
Yes.
And can you just describe it generally as you see it right there?
It appears to be a white sedan.
And as the vehicle moves forward, at 29:11:93, can you give any further description of the vehicle at that particular point?
It has markings on the side, green lettering that appear consistent with MetroCab.
And did you know, just yes or no, if someone appeared to walk away from the cab after it started to move forward?
Yes.
And directing your attention to this area of the monitor at 29:15:83, what do you see there, sir?
An individual who appears to be wearing a black tank top and blue jeans.
And as the video plays forward, can you make any observations of the left-hand area?
Yes.
And what do you see?
That the left hand is wrapped in some article of clothing, it appears.
And what street is this right here, sir?
Washington Street.
And the same individual at 29:32:75, where is that person going?
Entering into the main entrance of Tufts New England Medical Center.
And now at 29:39:46 on the monitor, what area of the hospital is displayed there, sir?
The main waiting area.
And just direct your attention to these doors right here at the mid-top of the monitor. Where do these doors lead, sir?
They lead into the emergency room area.
And to the right of those doors lead into the emergency area. What is right here? What is located right here to the right?
A reception area.
Prior to the morning of July 24th, 2013, you had been a police officer for how many years?
13, I think we figured.
Had you ever had occasion to be in the emergency room at the Tufts Medical Center prior to July 24th of 2013?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
Half a dozen.
And as far as this particular area, how would one gain access to the emergency room through those double doors?
Security would have to use a security key to open the doors.
Now, at 29:44:34, do you see an individual approaching the reception area?
Yes.
And how, as the video plays, how does that person appear to be dressed?
Wearing a black tank top, blue jeans, a dark-colored hat.
And as far as that particular portion of the video goes, were you able to make any observations of the left-hand area?
Yes.
And how was the person carrying, or what observations did you make of the left hand?
The hand appeared to be wrapped with some item, and he was holding it close to his body at that point.
Now I'm just going to that same section of the hospital, same date, and I want to bring it forward to 12:36 a.m. Right at about 12:36:26, I'd like you to focus your attention on the monitor. 12/37/04, what observations could you make of the person?
An individual consistent with the person who had walked in previously is being assisted by security personnel from Tufts New England Medical Center.
And are you able to see the left-hand area?
Yes.
And is there anything different, or what, if anything, is different about the left hand now as opposed to when this individual originally arrived at the hospital?
There appears to be a white bandage, gauze-type bandage, in the left-hand area.
And with respect to the video you reviewed, and based on your dealings with Mr. Alemany, on that date, does the person in the video appear consistent with Mr. Alemany?
Don't it's an objection. The objection is stated. Well, let me just tell you, I gave you the same instruction with regard to the ATM videos and the police officer's ability to identify an individual in an ATM video. Police, under our rules, or under the law, are not permitted to provide opinions about the identity of someone in a photograph or video. To do so would usurp or take away from your responsibility to make those determinations. The identity of a person in a photograph or a video is solely the function of a jury to determine. So to the extent that there's any opinions about who's depicted in that, you have to make an independent assessment of what the videos depict and who is depicted in the video. So to the extent police officers have testified, someone's consistent with it, in my opinion, that's someone in the video, please disregard it.
I'm just going to move this forward now to 12:39, 12:39:22, and ask you to focus on the monitor again. Now, the person you described with the white bandage on their left hand, where did you see them go?
Back into the emergency room area.
And when you saw Mr. Alemany on that date, you noted an injury to his left hand?
Yes,
And when you noted the injury to the left hand, was it dressed?
it was.
And what color was the dressing?
It was white gauze.
And when you saw him the first time, was that the color of the dressing?
In the hospital?
When you saw him for the very first time?
Yes.
Okay. How much time did you wind up spending at Tufts Medical Center on the early morning hours of July 24th, 2013?
Approximately an hour, hour and a half.
Okay, and where did you wind up going from there?
From there, myself and Detective Cecil again met Sergeant Detective Paul McLaughlin in the area of 124A Dorchester Street, at which point Sergeant Detective McLaughlin and myself proceeded to 331 East 8th Street, apartment 719.
And what was your purpose for going to 331 East 8th Street, apartment 719, that morning?
To speak with the occupant of that apartment.
And did you meet that person?
I did, yes.
And who was the person that you wound up meeting and speaking with?
Elizabeth Stevenson.
Did you wind up speaking with her on more than one occasion?
Yes.
And without getting into the substance of what you discussed, did you learn whether or not she was involved in any type of relationship with Mr. Alemany?
She had been in a relationship with Mr. Alemany for approximately 8 years. They, at the time, had a 4-year-old daughter together.
Okay. What time did you wind up leaving 331 East 8th Street?
It was a little after 4 a.m.
And where did you wind up going that morning, sir?
From there, we walked over to 57 Gate Street.
And that was the time frame that you referenced earlier?
Yes.
You had mentioned earlier that you were aware during the course of the investigation about the Bell's Market and Casper Funeral Home.
Yes.
Did you ever wind up reviewing any video video from either or both of those locations?
From both of those locations.
And when were you aware that video was retrieved from either one or both of those locations?
Within the days, that evening, I was aware of several stills that had been provided relative to surveillance. Video was later recovered.
From both locations?
From those locations, yes.
And during the time that you were at 124 Dorchester Street, sir, did you have occasion to just generally note the areas, streets, buildings around 124A Dorchester Street?
Yes.
And was there anything in particular that you noted?
Prior to responding, they had been made aware of surveillance video that had been recovered and viewed connected to the Marion Manor. While present at 124A Dorchester Street, I was able to observe the video cameras which were mounted opposite 124A Dorchester Street.
And just showing you for a moment what's been marked exhibit number 11. Do you recognize that, sir?
I do, yes.
And what do you recognize to be on this particular exhibit? What's shown here?
The center of that exhibit is East 4th Street, National Street, and Dorchester Street.
And what building am I pointing to right now in the middle of exhibit number 11?
124A Dorchester Street.
And were there any, the Marion Manor you mentioned earlier, where is that located on exhibit number 11?
Directly to the right at 130 Dorchester Street. It's a red brick building. It's about 7 stories, yes.
And do you know what building this is almost exactly opposite 124A Dorchester Street?
What the exact building is?
Right.
I don't recall.
As you look at this particular photograph to the left of the building across from 124 Dorchester Street, do you know who maintains this parking lot?
Yes.
Who is that?
Marion Manor.
And were there any cameras that you became aware of in this parking lot?
Yes. Mounted at the front of that parking lot, there's cameras facing both that parking lot and the parking lot adjacent to 124A Dorchester Street, which is also owned and maintained by Marion Manor.
And the cameras that you're talking about, could you just circle the ones you mentioned and initial them, please? Thank you. Now, in the hours after you left Tufts Medical Center, did you have the opportunity at some point later that morning or later that day on July 24th to view video or any stills or anything captured from the camera you just circled on exhibit number 11?
Yes.
At what time approximately, sir?
It would have been sometime in the late afternoon, actually, after several other investigative steps have been taken.
Now, let me ask you this. I had asked you earlier about your initial response to the Stony Brook Reservation. You said, you testified that you had some stills, particular stills from bank surveillance cameras.
When I first arrived, I had viewed still photographs that had been obtained. I then later had those photographs myself.
Okay. And as this investigation unfolded, what access, if any, did you have to a spreadsheet that was delivered to Detective Steve Blair as part of this investigation?
The early evening hours of the 23rd, I had the spreadsheet that had been forwarded relative to bank activity.
Okay. Now, regarding that camera opposite 124A Dorchester Street, was there a particular time frame that you were interested in?
Yes.
And what time frame was that?
From 5 a.m. onward until 6:03 a.m.
Just yes or no, were you privy to any information received from either Amy Lord's roommates, friends, or co-workers relative to the missing person investigation prior to reviewing video from the camera opposite 124 Dorchester Street? Just yes or no?
Yes.
And where did you first have the opportunity to review video from the camera opposite 124 Dorchester Street?
Where was I when I reviewed it?
Right.
At Boston Police Headquarters.
I think we can pick it up from there after lunch.
Mr. Chair, we'll take the lunch break at this point. Please, again, do not discuss the case amongst yourselves because everyone on time.
All right. Jurors leaving up any chairs, please step down. Score's